That's what I'm talking about.
You know I don't like working for cookies. I don't like collecting fees. It's that look in their eyes when they don't have the money.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is Joshua Ansley, and today we are going to talk about Shasrara, right? The seventh chakra. So here we are at the end of our journey. By the end of this video, you will all be enlightened. You will not need any of these videos anymore. You will not need me. You will not need anything in this external world whatsoever. And you will just be floating on a cloud every single moment of your life, because that's what life is. It's just a beautiful fragrance of a flower floating on the wind. And some awful, horrible tragedies and abuse and things thrown in there in between. So, alright, all kidding aside, so here we are, the seventh chakra, Shasrara, right? So, basically, there's so much to talk about here, but really, it's about silence. It's about nothingness. It's about the peace and serenity that comes in the nothingness, which is at the same time everything. So there's a lot of teaching in like the Tao Te Ching. There's a lot of these opposites and paradoxes that don't seem to make much sense. I am nothing, I am everything, right? So what it really comes down to is an identity, at least is my understanding of it, right? Is that we work through these different identities through the chakra system, and we're working down through a lot of this lower energetic stuff, these lower feelings and emotions and belief systems and all this stuff down here in the lower systems. And the idea is, like I've spoken about, the two currents going through the chakra system, one of liberation and one of manifestation, right? So some people, a lot of particularly spiritual, gurus, advocates, they work on just the liberation current. Right? And some people more in the life coaching world and that kind of thing, and business coaching work more so on the manifestation current, right? So the idea is really to be working with both, in my perspective, to realize the full aspect of humanity, because in this space even religious or spiritual addiction can become an issue, right? Oh, I forgot I have the bindi on. Yeah, so I've been still teaching about the sixth chakra this week, right? So spiritual addiction can become a problem, right? When you become, when you take vows of chastity or poverty or things like this, which can be great things, right? But when they're done to a degree where you're actually negating the lower chakras, I think that we're negating the full expression of our humanity, right? So a lot of people think, oh, spiritual, like you can't be spiritual and have money, or you have to take a vow of chastity or poverty, or you can't have sex, and that's absolutely fucking ridiculous, right? It's just absurd to think. The problem is all that comes from judgment, and it's still in a world of duality, right? So what we're talking about here, we talked about last week, was this world of singularity. Right now we're talking about it's beyond singularity, because the concept of singularity still denotes that there is some other thing. There has to be duality compared to singularity. This is spoken about, Shasrara is spoken about as the one without a second, right? So it's different from just singularity. But it is still this concept, speaking about it, obviously in this language we're limited as much as we can say, but it is still the concept of oneness, right? It is one where we are one with everything, that there isn't this concept of separation. It's an idea, this identity. Even ego, ahamkara, is really just a thought. So separation is just a thought. All of this is just thought. As a matter of fact, everything is just thought. Everything is consciousness. Right? And actually consciousness is not thought, because thought is a tangible thing in this world, right? You can read it electrically, it is something in this physical world. But consciousness, right? Consciousness is not of this physical world. It is not something physical. Consciousness is that which illumines the thoughts, right? Is that which by which we see and understand the thoughts, right? So this is where we get into the witness. This is a really powerful perspective in this space, is moving into the witness within ourselves. So the understanding that I'm not my body, I am not my mind. I am not my emotions. I am not anything that has happened to me. Matter of fact, I am not any understanding of myself as I know myself to be. Because really that is just the mind and the body and these other bodies, these other denser, I don't want to say lower, but denser bodies, right? With the 5 bodies. So in the 5-body system of the yogic system of bodies, the koshas, right? You have the physical body, energetic body, mental body, intellectual body, and the bliss body. And those are all surrounding the self, right? So these are all these sheaths that surround the self. And when we start to understand the issue of a universal identity, so as opposed to identifying ourselves as Joshua Ansley, or I am this body, right? I think that I am this body. So therefore there I want these selfish lower desires to fulfill this body, where my mind goes into the world to find happiness. It finds happiness in finances, in relationships, in anything that's in this world, right? And some of these things, that's why the idea is that these things aren't bad things. I'm not talking about not having relationships. That's why some people renounce everything and they go, and I don't believe that. That's not what it's about, right? Because you can still engage with the world when you release attachment, which is another demon of this space here. When you release attachment to these lower things, and the attachment, the Vedantic understanding of attachment and definition is that which gives us, when anything that would to be without would cause us suffering, right? So it's anything that we need in this physical world in order to make us okay, to make us feel good, right? So, but we don't have to get into this black and white thinking just because we need something right now. This is a process. Progress is perfection, right? So this understanding that, you know, there's a Robert Jordan Starr, I think I've talked about this before, is an evolutionist that says the most advanced societies appear with the most amount of imperfections. Because it's not about getting perfect, it's about progress towards perfection. Otherwise we would be stagnant, right? In this physical world. But underneath it all, that self, right? That witness that is observing, that is who we truly are. So that when we create a little bit of space between ourselves and our emotions and our thoughts and everything that is happening, right? That's where we get into the space of all it being a cosmic joke and none of it means a goddamn thing. None of it means a damn thing. You give it all this meaning. And all you do is make yourself crazy emotionally and you say, no, but it should be this way, or somebody should do this, or you know, killing is wrong. We can't even say killing is wrong. We cannot blanketly say killing is wrong if there's ethical relativism that tells us there may be because the practice of ahimsa, right, which is non-harm, is usually translated as non-harm, but that's not a really accurate statement. It's the least amount of harm. You can't not do harm. You take a step across the ground, or you know, there's bacteria in your body that are dying. You just can't be not killing something, right? And this is coming from a vegan who tries to do the least amount of harm possible. But realistically understanding that it's not possible in this external world to do zero harm. Now, from a space of outside of this physical world, right, that is where we get to the space of the witness. That is, and when we come from this space, we come from recognizing that everything is consciousness. That is the substratum of all reality. It is singular, it is unmovable, it is unchanging, it is unwavering, it is absolute, it is not relative. So that is my concept of something, a higher power. We got to see how our belief systems are dictating what we're doing, right? So if we have fucked up belief systems, which we do from the way we were raised, all of us have some sort of belief, because we're recognizing when you get upset, when you get agitated, when you get frustrated, right? That is coming from a belief system that you have that is causing that. There is some way that you're relating to the world at what is happening that is causing that frustration. And really, opening up into this chakra and opening up into spirituality and stuff actually happens quite naturally if we open up down through the lower chakras. And I shouldn't say open up, right? But get balanced, clear out, get, you know, working through the issues of those lower chakras. This will actually happen quite naturally, and it won't be something that we need to push or fight for. And we have to be careful of spiritual addiction. Right? And renouncing everything in the world and causing ourselves fucking misery. That's not really what it's about. Now it's different because some people that are on that path, they are so elevated beyond that they understand the world completely differently. Right? They understand that I'm not my body, I am not my mind. So then the actions that they take, which you looking at it from they might take the same actions that you take, But you looking at it from your perspective of in this worldliness are going to see it and judge it and not understand where they're coming from. I've returned to a lot of the same practices. I mean, I went to a fucking sex expo this weekend, you know, the XXX erotica thing, and it was exotica thing, and it was very, you know, people are like, is that spiritual? I'm like, you're goddamn fucking right it is, because it's an understanding and exploration of myself. And where did I really wind up? Without judgment. I mean, Jesus hung with the hookers and broke bread with the sleaze, right? And without judgment of anything, I was actually doing a lot of work on myself, and I wound up in a lot of tantric seminars, right? And was understanding myself deeper, at a deeper level, that looking at what I want. I wasn't drawn to all that chaos. I was drawn to a deeper sense of intimacy and understanding and self-understanding, and understanding how to give and to be open and connected to somebody else, right? So it's outside of this world of judgment. We think we know, then like it's that black and white. It's outside of this black and white. That black and white is dual. That is relative. That is not the only reality. I'm not going to say it's not reality, because this Maya, this illusion that we talk about, that concept can help us understand how to get out of the physical world, so we're not only stuck in the physical world. But if you, in my opinion, right? And this is other teachers have different teachings, and it's because other people are in different places. If you don't like what I have to say, that's fine. Maybe it's not for you. If you don't like my interpretation of it, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's not for you, right? So there are, in my opinion, if we get into this idea of this world being completely illusory and we're not accepting this reality as it is, then we're not living in reality, and we're not doing the most powerful work that we could on this planet. Again, I feel that my purpose here is to do work on this planet. I do feel like I am a karma yogi, right? And really, when you mix karma, jnana, bhakti, hatha, all of it together, you know, that's when you really have the change happening, right? So this idea of just absolute transcendence is also mixed with immanence, right? It's mixed with the worldliness. So it's the idea of heaven on earth. It's that, you know, greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. And so it's when we connect into that space and then bring it into the world. Again, this is just my understanding, right? Because other people like, hey, if you're ready to fucking transcend and you're like, you know, disembodied masters and shit like that, fine, fucking fantastic. Then go sit in an ashram. I'm really not judging. Or go sit in a cave and fucking meditate the whole time. My job was to find it, connect with it, is to find it. I'm not saying I'm fucking done, but it's a lifelong thing, or many lives long, is to connect into this space, having worked down through this lower stuff, right? Oops. Boop. And still working down through the lower stuff, always, because I'm a human being, and as I'm engaging in the world is emotionally maturing me. And actually, as I work down through this stuff, I naturally open up into the higher. Now, other people say, and I've said it, pick up the higher and the lower will drop off. I understand that as far as desires and as far as elevating, I have picked up the higher. But I still know that I need personally, or I felt that I've had to, work down through the lower, otherwise there is no fucking seeing the higher. So when I look at a lot of these gurus that have teachings, you know, I listen to Sadhguru, right? And he talks about how his mother didn't even say, I love you, when he was younger, because she didn't need to. It was so understood by her actions or whatever, right? And I'm like, motherfucker, then why the fuck am I going to be listening to you? Not that my mother, you know, she did always say I love you, and I think that was appropriate. So I'm not talking about that specifically, mother relationship, but I'm talking about, that's like, if I'm going to listen to somebody talk about addiction who's never gone through addiction, that seems a little fucking stupid to me, you know? So, you know, understanding spiritual teachers is something that they can only still talk from their experience, strength, and hope. Now, that man has definitely hit some fucking enlightened shit. He has gotten into an understanding of I am we, right? So it is, what is the I? Now, some people would say it was a complete letting go of the I, right? But what is that I? Because the great I am is not, it's not who we are in terms of this body and this mind and this personality. So I am Joshua Ansley, but that I always stays steady. It's always the same. I am happy, I am sad, I am fat, I am skinny, I am in shape, I'm out of shape, I'm angry, I'm happy, whatever the fuck it is, right? So when we recognize that great I am, that I is always steady. That is the self, right? So what would it look like if we understood that I to not be our identity as Joshua Ansley, but that I was not the body and the mind, nor is it any of the other bodies, the mental body, intellectual body, even the bliss body, but it is that self. It is that unwavering, unchanging, absolute steadiness. It is that self. When you recognize that you are that, that's where you get into the axioms and things like the tat twamasi, that thou art. I am that I am. And as we create our own reality, right, is that I am God. What would you do if you were a God? And that's not meaning that you could just do whatever the fuck you want, because what is your understanding of God, of that singularity, of that stillness, of that peace, of that love, right? It doesn't mean that what would you do if you just had all the fucking power in the world. What would you actually do? See, when you come to resolution of your desires, when the desires are gone, because it's the desires that actually separates, if you go from like a Buddhist and a Vedantic philosophy and understanding, it's the desires that are separating us from God, right? It's those lower desires that the mind goes into the world in order to find its happiness. It's real simple. And then the intellect points that mind up towards something higher to find happiness, not needing to look outside of ourselves in order to find that happiness. If we knew we were already fulfilled and complete, absolutely, as we are exactly right now, then what would we do? Then what would we do? Then what would we create in this world? So then maybe you would just sit on top of a mountain and elevate and sit in your stuff. My belief is to bring heaven on earth, is to take it into this world, is to liberate through the chakras, through just blank, and then to manifest down into this world, right? And to bring this space of love and to bring these teachings to the world and to help people and to help us all rise up, because it is not just I am I, it is I am we. It is that we are all together as one, right? And even quantum entanglement, this is not just spirituality, like metaphysics or physics and quantum physics actually brings it in, right? It's understanding that all the quantum entanglement is really understanding that these watching electrons in different particles actually respond in the same way that they were, as if they were once connected, or that they were once connected, and then even from great distances still respond to each other like twins, right? And so that as that happens, if you really look at it, every breath that I take in, I exhale particles that now you inhale, and people across the world, it's eventually cycling all around. I go over to freaking, somewhere else, and I take a dump over there, and then it's into the earth down over there, and then it grows up into food that they eat, and that food becomes them. There literally are all connected, and we're all just these separate particles that happen to make up this body that now I say I am. I'm not. I'm fucking billions of people that have lived before me, taking shits into the world and then eating it and creating this body here because some two people fucked and boom, I came out, right? So this is how we are all connected as one, right? So and then quantum entanglement tells me that as something else is happening across the planet, that I'm still connected. Some particles of me are still connected to that somewhere else, and we are connected all as one. And really, it's just an understanding of a mindset. When you understand a larger concept, when you understand the larger concept of inclusiveness, right? Of an understanding of that we are all connected. That the wise man knows, or the wise person knows, that there's a little bit of me in everybody else, and a little bit of everybody else in me. Fucking literally. Literally. We are all connected. So it's this idea of separation, and that's why one of the dangers of this space is religious zealotry, zealousism, right? So that understanding that we are not separate, this ridiculous idea, these concepts, sorry, I don't like to usually judge, I don't like to say that I'm right, but it's fucking absurd. Something absurd to think that there's any separation whatsoever. And when you get into this space through meditation and through mindfulness, right, which can be hard for people if we haven't worked down through the lower chakras. If you haven't worked down through the lower chakras, then some sorts of meditation might just fucking make you crazy. But there's also other ones like guided meditations, and people say, well, that's not meditation. It's not meditation towards the self. Fuck off. It's all working into subtler areas. It's taking a look at ourselves. It is stepping back, becoming the witness, looking at all of our shit, and then shifting it, understanding understanding that it is our own perception, our own understanding, and our own belief systems that is creating the reality in which we live right now, that is creating all the nonsense or all the beauty. And when you start to let go and surrender all the bullshit in the lower understanding of yourself, you will start to open up into the higher understanding and be able to create the absolute fucking heaven on earth that you are meant to live. Understand that you are God. I feel like I could talk about this forever. I am not the body, I am not the mind. In the Kesha Lakin, I am you, you are me. Namaste. What? Too much?